about the forthcoming Yom Tov of Chanukah. We will start from what we said in the Moras Libya Dickman HY. There is a Gemara in Masechet Shabbos, the famous Gemara in Masechet Shabbos about the Nes of Chanukah. Steht in the Gemara Azay. Take a look in the Moras Libya Dickman HY. Steht in the Gemara Azay. Moras says that what's the given my Chanukah? Moras says that, just gonna get the Gemara open. Moras says my Chanukah. Moras says b'chofei Kislev zoymim shouldn't be misane, shouldn't be maspid. And the reason why, the Gemara tells us the story. The whole story of Chag Chanukah is laid out in the Gemara. The Gemara steht as it. Gemara steht that be-esrim v'chamisha b'chofei Kislev. Just don't have also, he didn't bring me my Moras Libya Dickman HY. Shenichnesu. So the Gemara says, "B'chofei b'chodesh Kislev yom Chanukah timna yomi the le'isped behoin the le'isanas behoin." By the way, the goyin is not goyres le'isanas behoin, which is a shiur b'fnei atzmai. Why the goyin deletes the din tainus on Chanukah? Shenichnesu yevonim lo heichol timu kol ha'shmanim shehoyu bo'eichol u'kshegovro malchus beis chashmoinoim v'nitzchum bodku v'lo imotzu el ha'pach echot shel shemen shoyomunoch bechoisomai shel kohen gadol. It was nikar that it wasn't used, that it wasn't open, it wasn't metame, it was chosum. When in that pach loihoyo there wasn't enough oil la'elo lahadlik loyomechot, which is also a shaila. The shaila, if it was enough for one day, it wasn't even enough. Sastirin shieltis. V'nasoi boines v'idliku mimenu shmoina yom. This is the Gemara. The Gemara says, Lashona acheres kovim v'asoum yomim tovim behalal ubeoido. This is the Maisa of Chanukah. Tesis comes with Glai Chafanort. There in the Sugi in Shabbos. Tesis says, as this halacha, this story that the Gemara says that shoyu munach bechoisom shel kohen gadol, so Tesis im kvar gozur al anochrim liyos kezovim. There is a sugya sagmori in Nida, the Flamedal, the fourth parak in Nida, in the Flamedal, that there were goyzer exera that the goy should be metame kezav. So if it's metame kezav, the halacha is that zav is metame beheset. Unlike tumas meis, which is supposed to be maga and masa oil, but zav, atume is metame beheset. The Gemara said there was a certain period of time in Beis Sheni, there were geyser that there will be a tumas af yeder nochri, and any goy there will be a din of tumas zav. So Teisa Sekasha, what does it help me? The pach was chisom shel kohen gadol, there was no tumas maga. But the goyim were there, they were moving around stuff. You have to be chayshish for Hesed. So if the pach was there, they were in Lishkas HaShmanim. The one pach they didn't manage to be metame. For Teisa Sekasha, l'chura, there is a tumas Hesed. Therefore, the shemen should become tome, even the shemen within the pach of the kohen gadol, show you munach b'choisom shel kohen gadol. That's Teisa Sekasha. So Teisa says, tzorich loymar show you munach b'choisom b'karka shelo yesitu akli. There was like a safe inside the ground, it was built in, and apparently when it's built in, it's locked into a position, they couldn't move it. So as in as much it was closed and was sealed in a cave, in the Heintiker language, in a cave under the ground, really wasn't metam beis. The Mordechai says, another teretz, the Mordechai says that he's talking about was a shido kvuo b'koisel, shoyo sguro v'chasumo b'choisem kohen gadol. As I state in Mordechai. The Bach, I want to get today to the sugya through the back door. The Bach, you can take a look by you in the papers if you have it. The Bach, in the beginning of Tofre Ishayin, brings in Be'ure Ara'am Shal HaSmag, She'oyo Piv, the Smag, he brings a Smag, She'oyo Piv Tzar, She'ino Yochoy Lahachnis Boyetz Boy. This Pach of the Kohen Gadol, the Piv, the pair of the Pach was Tzar, that somebody cannot stick his finger in. Since you cannot be in tabe b'mago, because it was so thin, the piv of the pach was so thin, so you couldn't stick your finger, so you couldn't touch the shemen. And therefore, eina metame be'eset. The lohochi afker achmono lehesed b'lo shenigir leim alocho kol she'eina metame b'mago metame be'eset. Toisa says, zog the smag, that the tumas heset is only something which is bar kabolas tume through tumas maga. It's something you cannot be metame b'maga, not metame b'heset. If you have a pach which would be open theoretically, you can touch the shemen, so that has a tumas maga, has also a tumas heset. But if it doesn't have tumas maga, it doesn't have a tumas heset. As I zokta, he adds on this maga. Listen to the word. Okay, he adds on v'tzorich shiyeh chosu. De'im loikein ikech shosho shemo yitziu ktsose v'nitma v'chziru b'seiche. He says it has to be chosum, has to be sealed. The pach of the Kohen Gadol had to be sealed, because if it's not sealed, it's just closed, it's not sealed. You're afraid maybe the goy took out a little bit of the shemen, he tried it out, they put it back in. And mele, you have to say that he was sealed. Inami. Nitme be'oil ameis k'shelehoyo tzomit pozil olav. It could be one of the two things could happen. Either tumas maga or you can nitme be'oil ameis. What does it mean nitme be'oil ameis? Just to give you a pashat pshat, what does it mean oil ameis? The halacha is that since they put in the tzelim in the heichel, so mimele everything which was in the bayis was nitme be'oil. The halacha is that the zora is metame, the kroives akum is metame be'oil. So since it's the krevis akum, it's betame be'oil. So it has to be tzomit pasul. If it doesn't have a tzomit pasul, then the shemen will be nitma betumas oil because they put they put avidazor in the heichel. Avidazor is the krevis, and the krevis is betame be'oil. And since the oil, if you have something inside the oil, tzomit pasul is matzil. But if you don't have tzomit pasul, so then it's not nitzal, and therefore causing it to not to be tor. Azay zokt them smag. The Bach brings it down. The question is, we don't have too much time, but the question is as follows. The halacha is that hekdesh is not nitzal b'tzomit posel. The whole sugya sagmor, whoever learned the sugya sagmor in Chagigit of Kofei Amudal, I don't want to learn because we don't want to, we must speak something. In the sugya sagmor in Chagigit of Kofei Amudal state that even though Mei Poro, the Gemara is a shmur, it's about Mei Poro, Eifa Poro, Mei Poro is Nitma. If it's Nitzal, it is Nitzal B'tzomit Posel. But Hekdesh, as a Paska the Rambam, read you the Loshan Rambam, V'chen Oichlin V'mashkin, you have the Rambam in Perik Yudal, in Pora Aduma Alocha Dalet, V'chen Oichlin V'mashkin Shel Kodesh, Eino Nitzolin B'tzomit Posel. Aval Maim She'eino Mekudoshim, V'kli Reken Ator Lechatos Nitzol B'tzomit Posel. The Kesamisha brings down and said the Raisa Dikedin, that hekdesh is not nitzal b'tzomit posel. The kasha is, if that's the case, why in the world, what does it help that it has a tzomit posel in as much as the krevis of the zora is metame be'oil? So even if it was sogur in tzomit posel, the din should be that it should be mekabel tume machmas tumas oil, because there is no hatzol in the oil hames or the oil of the zora the krevis has a din of oil hames, resulting in the shemen has to become Tomei. That's the question we'd like to discuss today. So I'd like to share with you, but enough good kop halten. Don't have much time, enough good kop halten. Some 33 years ago, I heard a word, Shem the Stipler. Didn't hear it from the Stipler, then Shem the Stipler. Stipler says, the most popular song for kids on Chanukah, Nishkin songs are piyut. Yevonim nikbetzu olai azai b'mei HaShmanim. Ufortzu choymois migdolai vetimu kol HaShmanim. Stipler says, what is the pshat? So the truth of the matter is, Nesugis Agmor in Psochim Daf Yud Zayin is Machlekes Rav and Levi. We know that in Nevuas Chagai, whoever learned the sugya of Chabchanin is Gan HaKoyanim. In Nevuas Chagai, it says that in Beis Hamikdosh, the mashkin did not become Tomeh. The Nevuah was Mashke Bei Mitbachaya Dochon. Hey, it's a Mishnah in Idiots. Hey, Yossi ben Yoezer. A few things, but one of the Idiots that Yossi ben Yoezer was made, Al Mashke Bei Mitbachaya, that is Dochon. What does it mean, Mashke Bei Mitbachaya? So Machlekes Rav and Levi. If you say Mashke Bei Mitbachaya with a tes, or Mashke Bei Madbechaya with a dalet. Mashke Bei Mitbachaya is the mashkin which were in the Beis Hamikdosh, which is only dam and mayim. In Beis Hamikdosh, Beis Hamikdosh, there was only blood of the animal, the water they used to wash the animal with. Is that the reason why they weren't geyser? The Chagai, I know he wasn't geyser, is because didn't want to make a major, as I state in Maram Chalava, and andere Shem state andere Sibis, but the Tam Akzer was that if any single moment it would be Tomei, become Tomei, and he didn't want to make, so they made a Takonas Anevim, that the mashkim of Beis Hamikdosh are not Tomei. Levi says, and that's how we pass it. The Gersa is not Mashke Bei Mitbachayo, but Mashke Bei Madbechaya, the mashkim that go on the Mizbeach, which are inclusive but not limited Yain and Dam. Dam and Mayim. Also Yain and Shemen. So Rashi says Yain and Shemen. Yain goes with Nisuch. When you make a Nisuch on top of the Mizbeach with a Yain, you go to the Shitin. And Shemen you have either in Minchas Nesochim, or in Menachos you have Shemen. So the Machlekes is if Mashke Bei Midbachaya or Madbechaya. Stipler effect, according to Levi, and that's how we pass Mashke Bei Madbechaya Dochon. So l'chura, the Shmanim Beis Hamikdosh never became Tomei. The Yevonim came. There was a din of Zav, there was din Tomei Meis, whatever you want. But in as much a Mashke Bei Mad, it's not his kasha. The kasha is shenafriya the kasha the Chacham Tzvi frick the kasha. If you hold Mashke Bei Midbachaya Dochon, so the halacha should be the Shmanim should be Tohor. And what do you need the whole Neis of Chanukah? Take the Shemen. No Shemen became Tomei. That was a kasha. If you look in the Gemara in Shabbos, in the back, in the Yalkut, in the Oiz V'Oda Gemara, he brings down the kasha from many Achreinim, they all ask the same kasha. But he said, the Chap, Akunz, Avot. He said like this. The Gemara in Avodah Zorah, there is a very fascinating Gemara in Avodah Zorah in Daf Nun Gimel Mud Beis. The Gemara states in Avodah Zorah, Daf Nun Gimel Mud Beis. Nun Beis, I'm sorry. Nun Gimel Beis is the next Gemara. The Gemara states as it. The Gemara says is a halacha. A person cannot answer something which does not belong to him. You have metame, somebody's metame haroisav shel chaveiro, or medamea, you take a dimu of trumo, menasach, you take yaim yanesach. You can only do it for yourself. If you do it for somebody else, not on his behalf, against his will, the halacha is ein odom oiser dovo she'eina sheloi. More comes along and says this is only lehedyot. But legavoya, even somebody else touches it, it's also legavoya badova she'eina sheloi. As I stated, the Gemara, one wants to prove it. How does the Gemara prove it? It proves it from the Mishnah. So the Mishnah states that in Lishkas Beis, in Mishnah in Midah state in Lishkas Beis HaMoiked, one of the Lishkas, which was Bnuyes Bechoil Upsuchis Lekodesh, according to the Gemara in Moed Cotton, one of the Lishkas was called Lishkas Beis HaMoiked. In that Lishka, there were 4 corners. Each corner was used for something else. Steht in the Mishnah, Lema Messiah, Mizrachis Tzvoinis, Bogonzu Beis Chashmonois, Avne HaMizbeach, Sheshikzu Anshe Yovan. Ve'omar Rav Sheisha Sheshikzu La'avedus Kechol. Moras says that they took the Mizbeach, they broke it apart to pieces, they took the Levanim, and they Shikzu La'avedus Kechol. Moras says, and what did they do with the avonim? When the HaShmanim came in, they found the mizbeach broken to pieces, and all the bricks were bricks which are over the zor. So what do they do? The Gemara says there's no eitzah. You can break it. Anything you do is no good. So what do they do with it? They were goynizes. What were the goynizes? In the Kerem Mizrachis Droimis of Mizrachis Tzfeinis of Lishkas Beis Hamikdosh. The Gemara Kashe, the Yevonim are strangers. So the Avonim never became Avodah Zarah. Why do you have to be going? Is it? Teretz is behechach is muchach that even though lehedyet ain't the most of a shena shaloi, but legavoya adam oisa dam shena shaloi. So the Gemara knows no right. From this Mishnah, you're not a right. Why? Hosom kro ashkechu v'dorosh diksiv ubo b'pritzim v'chilaluah. There is a pasuk in the beginning of Sefer Yecheskel, talking about the Churban, steht in Posuk, v'hasikoisi ponai mehem, v'chilalu es tzfoini, the Michoel Beis Hamikdosh is called tzfoini, ubo b'pritzim v'chilalu. Pritzim, the poritz came on Michoel. Zogt Rashi, is a middle what? Zogt Rashi, also mikro ashkech v'dosh du midoraisa asir afilu lehedyet. Why? דקסיב בו פריצים וחיללו מכיוון שנכנסו עכו"ם להיכו יוצאו כליו לחולין וכיוון דנפקא לחולין קנינו בהפקר ועוולה דידהו ושנשתמשו לעבודת כוכב נעשר. Says Rashi, I'm probably Kazakh. It says in the pasuk, I'll bring the goyim into Beis Hamikdosh and they'll be destroying it. בו בפריצים וחיללו. Zogt Rashi, what happens? The Kislev of Beis Hamikdosh is Yotze L'chulin, and since it's Yotze L'chulin, it became Hefker. What does it belong to? There's nobody, and it doesn't belong to anybody. Bo B'pritzim, they were mechalal all the Kislev of Beis Hamikdosh, the Mizbeach becomes mechulal, becomes Hekdesh. Once it's Hekdesh, in the second the guy picked it up, he's Zochim in a Hefker. So he's Zochim in a Hefker, it sees, once it is, it's not in the most of the Rosh Hashanah, it's also afilu lehedyet. It's like the more not like afilu lehedyet. Azay steht Sugya Sagmor and Avodah Zarah of Beis Hamikdosh. Comes again the Ramban in Muhammad's. The Ramban learns different than Rashi. Rashi learns Bo Pritzim v'Chilalu means the Kalim, the Avonim becomes Mechulol and Hefker. Rashi is talking about ownership. The ownership that used to be belonging to Kosher Kedushas Berek Habayis, that became Ois and it became Hefker. And Mele the Goy was Zoichi in the Hefker. The Ramban says, Moyadike Ramban. I'm not going to read the whole thing. ואויד שהרי ביס המקדש עצמו יוצא מקדושוסוי על יודום ונעשה חויל דה בבייס כסיב ובו בפריצים וחיללוה. Says the Ramban, bo pritzim וחיללוה doesn't mean that the Kalim became chulin. Beis Hamikdosh עצמו יוצא לחulin, which means the Yevonim came to the Heichel. Their pritzus, when you'd gimel pirtzas or pirates in the Soyreg and they came into Beis Hamikdosh, not only did they take out the Kalim to Chulin, but through the pirtzah of the Yevonim, the entire Beis Hamikdosh became Chulin. So, Ois Beis Hamikdosh. So, this type of Agoinus. The Gemara says, if you hold mashkin medbחיא dochon, what happened if it was nitme bifnim v'yitziam l'chutz? The Gemara says if it's neat, you take a sheretz, you go take a shemen, a pach shemen in Beis Hamikdosh, you touch it. So it's mashkin medbחיא dochon. If you hold מדבחיא, it's tar. Then you take it out. Took it out of the azora. The Gemara says it remains tahor. But what happened if you took the shemen outside of the azora? Shemen which is kodesh, even if the shemen is kodesh, and nitmu b'chutz v'chziro lifnim, it's tummy. In other words, the takone for Chagai Anovi that mashkin medbחיא dochon was not on the hefts of the mashkin of the kodesh choil, but on the mokoi magatumo. If the mokoi magatumo was bifnim, then it's tahor. That's because that was the takone. The takone was Beis Hamikdosh. You don't want to get it to tumul. You're going to start having every minute. You're not going to be able to conduct business. So if nitmu bifnim v'yitziam l'chutz, it's tahor. But nitmu b'chutz v'yitziam v'yichnisan lifnim, then it's tummy. Even though now you want to use it for the shemen, for the menorah, you want to use the mizbeach for the menachos, for the nesachim, you cannot use it because the mokim maga tuma was outside. So this type of beautiful. Yevonim, B'tzua layazai b'mei HaShmanim, ufal tzuchoy masmigdaloi, since it's bo pritzi v'chilaluo, is v'timu kol HaShmanim. Because bo pritzi v'chilaluo, they couldn't be metamet. Why couldn't they be metamet? Because they know the most of the Shemen of Chanukah. But since bo pritzi v'chilaluo, so it comes out, according to the Ramban, where are we now? In Tel Aviv. We're not in Beis Hamikdosh. We walked out. So the Mokim, where was the Magatumah? Not in Beis Hamikdosh. If the Magatumah was not outside Beis Hamikdosh, even when they rebuilt it now, v'yichniso lipnim, doesn't make a difference. As Reb Chaim Briski used to say, so nicht gechiluk to the mensch gesharois from the mikveh, so the mikveh gesharois from the mensch. In as much that whilst the Yevonim came, his bo pritzi v'chilalu as the Ramban, it became ois Beis Hamikdosh. All of a sudden we have a compound kulei chayil. So it's a tzion l'chutz. Once it's a tzion l'chutz, it's nitma. And chozru v'bonu Beis Hamikdosh meile itzos. That's what he said. A beautiful word. Upol tzuchoy masmigdal abetimu kol HaShmanim. Very nice, and that's I heard it. Kom na ina greise Talmid Chacham. And Reb Avrom Ganechowski Zecher Tzadik Levroche was a Goyen Oilo. And he says, it's all good and fine and foil. It's a shame of old. It's a nice chap. But with all due respect, the Gemara in Psochim Daf Yitzayin, the Gemara says that according to Levi, who holds that mashke be madbechaya dochon, the Gemara says, "Eine mile letame achayim, aval tumas atzmon yesh lehem." In other words, the takone of mashke be madbechaya, according to the man who holds madbechaya dochon, the takone that it doesn't become tummy, it doesn't mean it doesn't become tummy. It does become tummy. It does become tummy. It's actually becoming tummy, but it's not metame acher. In other words, the dochon doesn't mean that the mashkin don't get tumah. They get tumah, but they cannot be metame another. If the mashkin becomes avatume, so it's metame another mashke or something else to become a rishon letumah. The halacha mashkin madbechaya dochon is letame acher, but tumas atzma. That's more says according to Mandoma that holds mashke being meat b'chaya, so it's possible to say that not only that it's not metame acherim, but it's tumas atzma also in loyim. But according to the Levi that hold mashke being mad b'chaya dochon, says the Gemara. I'm not going to learn now the whole Gemara, but the Gemara says hare mila tame acherim tumas atzma yeshlem. So he says vos darf man ankommen zu der ganze Shtickl Torah. If that's the case, you know why it became Tomeh? It became Tomeh even without parts of Bo Pritzi V'chilalua. The fact that mashke beimat bechaya is tumas atzman yeshlem, it can become Tomeh. First of all, the ganze Shtickl Torah. And the truth of the matter, you look at the back of the book of the Yavitz, brings down from the Chacham Tzvi, the Hiksho, Tzorich and all the Shmonim. Everybody says the same Shtickl Torah. All the Shmonim became. What do you have to come on to the Neis of Chanukah? All the Shmonim didn't become Tomeh. Yerushalayim, because if you hold Shemen is mashkin be medbchia, the Gemara says tumas atzman Yerushalayim. That's what we need in the Neis of Chanukah, without any sophistication. The Stipel said a very nice chap, but it's not needed because lemaise the tumas atzman is Yerushalayim. The Gemara says if tumas atzman Yerushalayim, so comes back kama v'gam nitzov could get tumah even without bo pritzi v'chilaluo. As soon as the Yevonim walked in and they touched it, they became Tomeh, Yechilalu, Nishchilu. That's what you have to get Beis Hamikdosh involved, Yotzeluchu. That was the kasha.
What did
Chagai to the Uf, that this Shemen that became Tomeh is not Metame, that's it. Shemen is Noga B'meis. So it becomes Avatume. Now the Shemen is going to touch something else, will make another. It's going to spread. He wanted to be Metzamtzem. What do you say? He wanted to be Metzamtzem, that if this Shemen touches, the Gemara goes over there, if this Nogai Beknaf Beged, and he goes to Isha and the Mashkin, and he asked him, Hayitma, Lo Yitma, the whole thing in the chain of reaction, in the ripple effect of spreading Tumah. So the Gemara comes along and says, if you hold Mashkin and B'chai Dochel, it means to say, Tumas Atzman, it does have. But when he touches something else, it doesn't make it Tumah. Ad kan. And the Rechonim fight in the Kasha, what do you have to come onto the Neis? And they say, the Teretz is because Tumas Atzman Yesh. I'd like to say the following. There is a Gemara. The Gemara comes along and says, Omar Shmuel, Gemara Kama Mekremes in Shas, Yain Shenitmo in Beis Hamikdosh, Mezalfoy al gabe ishi. What do you do with yain shenitmo? You take it and you sprinkle it on top of the fire. Why? Because you can not do anything with it. It's a yain tome, you got to burn it. Where do you burn it? You take it to the maroch and you mezal al gabe ishi. The Gemara of the Zohar says, Gemara of the Zohar in the Fayin Gimel, more brings a brisa. And the Gemara comes along and says, if a guy has a chovis, here, the Gemara says, the guy has a chovis of yain nesach, and he wants to be metayiret. Came a goy, touched it, made into yain nesach. The big hefsek costs $1,000 a barrel of wine. What does he do? The Gemara says, Hame'are ya Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Omar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Rabbi Yosef, Omar Rabbi Yochanan. Hame'are yain nesach mitzir tzur cotton lebor. If he takes a tzir tzur cotton as a mashpech, which has a very long and narrow, which means resulting in that the yain nesach goes drip slowly, slowly. Afilu kol hayoim kuloi rishon bottle. V'davka tzir tzur cotton, v'lo nefarish amudei. Aval chovish the nofish amudei non. If you're going to pour it all together, so you have a roiv of the chovis as more mine into the bore, so then it's the other way around. But if you're going to do it through a tzir tzur cotton, the halacha is kama bottle. Why don't we make a bittul beroiv? Why is yain shenit no mokdש and mezalfo gabe ishim? Why don't you make a halacha of bittul beroiv and take that yain and be metayer the yain of yain shenitma through taking the barrel of wine or the bowl of wine or the container or whatever they want was standing, put it in through a tzir tzur cotton into a yain, which is a kosher wine, and be mevatel it slowly but surely. The whole wine becomes kosher. So the truth of the matter is, the halacha is a Mishnah in Torah. The Mishnah says that efer basar shenis arv be'efer makle, you go basar roiv. Gemara is a machlekes in Bechiras, just for clarity's sake, because somebody come later to ask a kasha. Gemara in Bechiras daf chav gimel is a sugya machlekes al meroim. If when you me'arev tome and tor, or if a makle by efer poro, if it's tuma kemande isa or tuma kemande leisa, which means does this tome become ois tome, or the tuma is kemande isa, but since it's roif, it's bottle beroiv. The Gemara says, what's enough kemine if tuma is kemande isa mande leisa? If you add on later another tome to make it roiv to, if you say tuma kemande isa and it's only for zeitweilig in as much as at this time right now it's bottle beroiv, but if you're going to put later, it will be chayzev in years and it become tome again. But if you hold kuma kemande leisa, so it's expired. So even if you're going to add on later, it's nazay state in the sugya sagmor in Tumas Tesis in Bechiras in Daf Chav Gimel is that the only the Rabbanon you say is Tuma Kemande Isa, and it's the more says of community from Metambe B'Maso. If you want to carry it right now, it's Metambe B'Maso. You know, interesting that the Pimegodim has a sefer, beautiful sefer Halacha called Tevas Goyme. Parshas Miketz, I want to quote him. He says like this. Okay. Me'achad the mitzvah says in the Torah lahadik b'chol lailo v'lo yokim lailo achas mistome hoyo mashu yoyse diyef shel etzamzem. Was chatzi luk shemen mistome had an extra half. You need a chatzi luk shemen, so you put it in plus another ounce. They didn't ef shel etzamzem. They didn't fill it up. They topped it up a little bit. So k'tev im kein amaylo ivru shemen tome pochas miraviz ulevatel beroiv mashu yoyse v'hoyo lebeis leilis. Pochas miraviz ain't a metame acher. If you take pochas miraviz, it's not metame acher. It's also machlekes ushenim. So he's asking the kasha on who? On the second night only, not on the other nights. Why? Because on 2 nights, if you hold the 2 meis command ise, so even after you mevatel the roiv, the shemen, which is inside the shemen, it's both. But if you're going to take the 3rd night, the shemen the tomei, right away after the roiv's command ise, it will be reignited. So that's what he asks for a kasha. Okay. Zog det tzlach, listen to this. And be'emes ha'achlekes ri rabbeinu tam, it's not a tzlach. Zog det tzlach hazeh. This halacha of kama bottle passed only by orle, by kila akerem, by avodah zorah. Why? Because I have a yain of Easter, which we're pouring into a yain of heter. You want to pour the Easter into the heter. So the yain of Easter, the question is a question on the taruvis. If the taruvis is kosher, the taruvis is not kosher. So yain shel iser, which is in the yain shel heter, you say, if you me'are chovis of yain nesech through a tzir cotton, the halacha is kama bottle. So tzlach. But what happens when you take a yain tome? In the second 1 ounce of yain tome falls into the bor, it's metal the bor. If you take a yain of orle, a yain of kila kerem, a yain of dmai, a yain of avdizore, so the Easter is bifnei atzma, the het is bifnei atzma. It's just a shaila on the taruvis. Here the Gemara says it depends. If you pour the whole wine, so you have a problem. If you have tziltzul cotton, you have a patent called kama book. But if you have tome, so that's a machlekes rishonim. The tesis in psochim, the shaila is if mashkin is metame mashkin acherim bekol dehu or not. Or Rabbi Natam says you need a reviz mashkin to metame acherim. But the shita sari, even pochas reviz, in the second 1 iota touches, the whole bottle becomes tome. So the reason why yain should eat mizal for gabe ishim, the kaimelon keshita sari, in psochim daf yudal damudal from the beginning of the sugi of chanin is there na koyanim, and in as much as 1 iota, 1 drop touches the yain, the toich bor, the whole bor becomes tome. I would like to put 1 and 3 together. Listen very careful. It's a little sophisticated. Now, the truth of the matter is, I have 1 hamtzo I found, mutzosi, a metzir rabba l'raise. I found the hamtzo of something tome, which is not metame acherim. Mashki b'madbchaya. Mashki b'madbchaya, the Gemara says, tumas atzon yesh lahem. But it's dochen miltame acherim. Mimeil fragst dich the kashe. You loy motzu ela pach shemen bilvad. Take all the shmonim atmeim and pour it into tzir cotton. Now the reason why you can't do it all the time, because in as much of the shemen or the yain is tome, will be metame the shemen ator. But avivait you hold mashkim emad b'chaya dochon. And what does dochon mean? It's not metame acherim. So it comes out that shemen of all the kankanim which were in Beis Hamikdosh, take it, bottle it freely, open up, take out the kankan from B'chisom Shel Kohen Gadol, and pour it in slowly. Afilu kol hayom kuli. You have a patent of kama bottle. By every yain shenit it doesn't help because the 1 iota that touches is metame the shemen. But in as much there is a halacha of what? Of mashkin b'madbchaya dochon, which means even though it's tome to masatzman, but l'tam acherim is doch l'tam acherim. I have a eitzah. Take the shmonim in Beis Hamikdosh, the yevonim u'metame, pour it in through a tzir cotton. Shalom al Yisrael. Dafti shalom kichalik on latkes, on kreplach, on chemslach. What I need the whole thing for? That it's easy. Sees bo pritzim v'chilaluo. So Beis Hamikdosh atzma yoytze l'chulin. Here's where the stiples word Kama v'gam nitzova kicks back in. Without the bo pritzim v'chilaluo, and Beis Hamikdosh is oimed al mekoymai, and the halacha is mashkin b'chaya dochon, and has to be atzman, but it's not metame acherim. I have a eitzah to be machshi all the shmonim in Beis Hamikdosh. V'bal bo pritzim v'chilaluo. In Michoel, what happens if pritzim v'chalalet? So therefore, Beis Hamikdosh atzma yoytze l'chulin. If Beis Hamikdosh atzma yoytze l'chulin, I don't have any longer the halacha of what? Of matbecheh dochon. The mashkin b'chaya dochon I don't have. If I don't have the whole eitzah, I have to come out to the Pach HaShemet, to the Ness of Pach HaShemet. I was always bothered. You sing the Nigen, Yivonim nik betzu alai, azai b'mei HaShmanim, for etzuchem es migdalai, v'tibu kol HaShmanim. I was bothered with the question, what's the hemshich? Umi neisar kankanim, neis and neis l'sheshanim. What's neisar kankanim? What are you talking about the other kankanim? What's the sheikhas? Hashem appeasement. Umi neisar kankanim, neis and neis l'sheshanim. It's beautiful, the rhyme, the grammar gate zeir shein. But what do you have to come out to neisar kankanim? Umikan kanechod, neis and neis l'sheshanim. The teretz is, this is what the Tayat has in mind. Without the part Zuchemes Mila B'timu Kol HaShmanim, take the other kankanim and go ahead and be metayed them. You don't have to come out the Neisel Chanukah. But since part Zuchemes Migdal B'timu Kol HaShmanim, so Mila comes out, we are not in the Holy Temple, we just exited and we landed in Tel Aviv Airport. We are right now in Beis Hamikdosh Shiyotz L'Chulin. It's Mimele only Minoisar Kankanim. Before the ports of Chemes Migdalai, the entire kankanim could have been used in order to retire the shemen and have a beautiful enough shemen for the whole thing. You have the whole machsan of shmanim, lishkas hashmanim. By the way, state in the Rash that enough always kept enough of malai. They stuck for 6 months. They always kept enough stock, and as soon as they used to run low, they used to go. The Moras says they used to go to either Pki, and they used to go to different places where they used to get the best shemen around. They used to refill. They never ran low. They could have taken that whole shemen that the Yevonim were metame, and it ate it. We are not in the Beis Hamikdosh anymore. We're in Tel Aviv, so all the shmonim became tomeh. Is nice and nice. I think it's a beautiful add-on, and that emphasizes the kasha that everybody asks, the chur tumas atzma yeshlim. In other words, we have one shtickle. We're saying only one patent. That vibalt tumas atzma yeshlim, but it's docham milotam acherim. Here we have a chetimtza of tuma, which is din of bittul beroiv, providing you do it in the right fashion, in the right tziltzul cotton kama, you could really be metar. You don't need the nace of Chanukah. Let's go back to Tumas Hesed. If you remember, we started. Shaila was Vosig Vende Shaila. The Smag says, Bach brings down the Smag. The Smag says, Tesa says that we're talking about before the geyser. Tesa says because otherwise it'd be Tumas Hesed. Tesa says you have to be nizar. You have to be nizar. The Smag says that it shouldn't touch, because if it touches, it's metame. And he says, or it's benitma be'oil ames. Why would it be nitma be'oil ames? Because the krevis akum is metame kemes, so you need be'oil ames. Now, if that's true, what we're saying, so since both pritzim v'chilalu, and Beis Hamikdosh atzmo yotzal l'chul, that's where the avonim becomes. You need gniza because they become avodah zarah. So the shmonim in the heichel is also yotzal l'chulin. Everything is yotzal l'chulin. There's no Beis Hamikdosh anymore. So mimele it's chulin. In chulin, these what was the kasha? The kasha is the halacha is tzomit posel is not matzal hektish, is not nitzel but tzomit posel. This is only in as much that the shemen be stayed the shemen kodesh. But in the second Beis Hamikdosh atzma yotzal l'chulin, what are we dealing with? Oil from the regular hadar oil. Regular bowl of oil, which is Shemen of Chanukah. Shemen of Chanukah, the halacha is that as much that you close it, as much as you seal it, the halacha is the is a tzomit posel. Tzomit posel is masel be'oil hameis. No kedusha zaguf to the shemen. Shemen is poka kedusha zaguf. The only shaila that we have, I'm just living you off with a shaila. The shemen of the menorah, does it really have a din of mashke bei madbechaya? Rashi says. I'm just leaving you off that this is a shiur b'fnei. Rashi holds that the shemen, mashke bei madbechaya, Rashi says shemen l'menochas. Tois menochas in Daf Peites Amud Aleph says that the shemen for the menorah, you don't have to mekadosh kedusha speh at all. Unlike shemen for menochas, it's a korban. Tois says lo motzinu, you don't have to be mekadosh kedusha speh the shemen of the menorah. So you don't have to mekadosh kedusha skli. Taisa says you don't have to make a kedusha speh you need. But normally by menachas, the halacha is you say you makdish it, becomes kodesh kedusha domim, then you take it into kli, becomes kedusha saguf. Taisa said that the shemen of the menorah, in as much you makdish shemen of the menorah is enough. You don't have to mechoizer or mekash b'klishos to become kedusha saguf. So the shaila is if it's only mashke bei madbechaya, if you hold that it's not madbechaya, why? Because only shemen for the mensochim is called mashkin medbchaya, so it's not. It's not any worse than ma'im la'adochas karvayim. It's liquid. It's in the azor, even though it doesn't have a din. The question is, this is a question. One said, well, what shemen for nisuch dafom kedushas kli? Anything which is covered in mizbeach, you need to have that's a sugis like more insight. The second parak that you need to be mekadosh the kli in order to have it's called kiddush kli sheni. And it's called the kedusha saguf, and then that's a mishnah in menachas daf guf. That mishnah kedusha b'kli is ein lopidye. But kol zman it's not. It's called the kedusha dom. You can be paid it, and it's just called the kedusha speh. This is how menachas happen. The makdish kedusha speh, and the makdish more is a kasha. What do you have to makdish a second time? The more needed to have adam. Sakin is mekadosh ledam. The baby is kodesh, and once you shechter, I got a sugya about koponim. Kedusha Taisus says that Loi Motzinu, that Kedusha Shemen Lemenorah should need the Kedusha Shiur, the Kli after you have a Kedusha's. I once heard from my Rebbe B'Shem the Velizchara, the Mishnah says in Menachos in Daf Pevov Shloisha Zeisimin, the 3 olive oils, Arishayin Lemenorah and Vasheni Vashlish Lemenachos. So he says there's no din in the Asiyas HaShemen, it has to be done l'Shem Menachos. Just the first Shemen is kosher lemenorah, and the second one is kosher lemenachos. So it comes out that even Shemen for menachos it's done l'chatchila l'shem mashkin, not l'shem oichel. It's called mashke be madbchיא. So mele Shemen lemenorah could also be. If there's no designation of Shemen, this is Shemen lemenorah, this is Shemen lemenachos, then maybe there is. This is a shayla. Once asked to Chaim Kanievsky, Shemen lemenorah is called mashke be madbchיא. He told me Rashi state Shemen lemenachos. So mistomer he gave to Shemen lemenorah is mashke be madbchיא. More said madbchיא, it's korban hamizbeach. Kaponim zochinu to mechayim meisim berachamim rabim, and to give some. It's not stam yenig gesagt avol to port zuchemes migdalai, to be mezake sfosov Levivois bakever, that we went back and took the board and revived it again. We should have a freiliche Chanukah.